With our quick, fast-paced speed round game where my guests, Tim Woods and Jesse Whaley, are going to, as quickly as they possibly can, in 1 minute, come up with as many issues with hacking the speed of business that security faces. Gentlemen, you ready? Tim, you're going to go first.
I'm ready.
We're going to start the countdown clock. Do not begin until you hear the buzzer. Ready? Here we go. Okay, go.
Poor visibility.
Talent shortage, supply versus demand.
Growing complexity.
Security modernization to keep the pace of the threat.
Broken or outdated processes.
The business's understanding of their own risk appetite.
Lacking automation.
Vendor relationships.
Human error.
Migration to the cloud.
Misconfiguration.
Promotional events driving traffic to our e-commerce sites.
Poor security policy hygiene.
Digitization of the business, going paperless.
Compliance failures.
Transformation of manual human processes into technology solutions.
Wow.
18
Insufficient
seconds.
training.
Onboarding new suppliers.
Inadequate change detection.
Environmental concerns.
Overly
they're cranking
permissive
them up.
policies.
Safety initiatives.
All right, my court's timing was off on this, so my thing goes off a little bit later. Andrew, tell us what was the count? How many did Jesse and Tim come up with?
We've got 22, 11 each.
Whoa!
Oh.
Split. And I think that, by the way, that ties our record. Yes, Andrew?
I believe so.
All right. Excellent. Oh, welcome, everybody. Well, let's start this.
Welcome, everybody. The CISO Series video chat is ready to begin.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the CISO Series video chat. My name is David Spark. I am your host and producer of this very, very fun hour that we're going to be talking about hacking the speed of business, an hour of critical thinking on how security can keep up with accelerating growth. Accelerating business growth specifically. Our guest, who you just saw moments ago, that's Tim Woods, the VP of Technology Alliances for Firemon. He's the one with the Texas flag in the background. And we also have Jesse Whaley, the CISO for Amtrak, who's joined us as well. He is not moving as we speak. All right, our sponsor for today is Firemon. Thank you so much, Firemon, for sponsoring this episode of the video chat. All right, for those of you who have never been to one of our video chats before, please listen to this. Everybody else, just chat in the chat room like you normally do. Here are the 6 different ways you can participate. Just get involved in the chat room. 2, submit bad ideas. So we want your bad ideas on the topic of hacking the speed of business. And then we do that for the first 20 minutes. And then the 20 minutes, we switch to good ideas. We want to know, what are your best strategies for hacking the speed of business? Then at any time, you could just say, bring me on. If you got a question or comment, you want to ask it on camera, you can do that. Andrew, our producer, will get as many of you on as possible. You can always ask a question. You'll see at the very bottom of the screen, you can ask a question at any time, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible. But if a lot come in, you know what has to happen? We have to pick your favorite. So vote for your favorite question as well. Today's schedule, play the speed round. We did that already. 2 minutes past the hour, we'll go to your bad ideas, which is what we're doing right now, and your questions. 20 minutes past the hour, we'll have the poll live. You vote for your favorite bad idea. The 2 best bad ideas we will use in playing the Department of Yes. But also at 20 minutes past the hour, we will do what's the best strategy. So we want your good ideas on this. And then at 30 minutes past the hour, we'll vote for your favorite questions. Then at 40 minutes past the hour, the 2 best bad ideas will come on, and the contenders will face off to argue why their bad ideas are the absolute worst. And our 2 guests will be the judges on that. Last week, one person came up with both of them, Masako, and she also won the best bad idea, which, by the way, if you win the best bad idea, you get an awesome fleece. And I hope, and I haven't checked, but I believe any day now, we got a good dozen that need to be sent out to past winners. My apologies for the delay, but they should be sent out. Anyways, last questions and final advice, and then we have our meetup, the speed dating, the AKA cybersecurity speed dating. If you've never done that before, it's a lot of fun. Next Friday, we have no video chat because it's a holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend, so no video chat. But the following Friday, June 4th, we will be hacking DLP, an hour of critical thinking on how security can keep up with accelerating business growth. Please do me a favor and click the bottom of the screen, that link, that big old link at the bottom of the screen, and register for that. You will not be taken out of this chat. You will very much still be in this chat, but it allows you to register for that chat while you're still watching this chat as well. All right. And stick around for the meetup. Well, don't click the link at the bottom right now because it's not ready. All right. With that being said, let's now get to our discussion. So Jesse, Tim, I'm going to open up with a really big issue, which is the topic is hacking the speed of business. I will start with you, Jesse. What is the major issue that security has with trying to keep up with the speed that the business is trying to operate at?
Well, I think, when we were going through the speed round there, the very first thing that came to my mind was our talent shortage. And the cybersecurity talent, the supply is just not there, but the demand is high and it's increasing all the time. And, it's not just, the number of personnel that we can bring on board and hire. It's the number of qualified personnel that we can find that can do the jobs we need to get done.
Good point. Tim, what do you think is the number one issue?
I completely agree with that. But also the resources that we do have, we have those talented individuals on board and we rely on them on a day in, day out basis. Sometimes we rely too much on them because we have our best people doing some of the most highly frequent mundane tasks, and it doesn't free them up to focus on some of those higher skilled activities that we hired them for in the first place. And so it's just kind of this vicious circle that we get into, and it's not self-fulfilling.
All right. By the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but I want you to all hear this. That's us cranking up the fun on this episode right there, if you heard that. Yes, we want your bad ideas. I see they're already coming in. I appreciate you doing that right now, and we will be voting on them later. And please get your questions in as well. So let's immediately go into solutions you try to implement. How I want to say is how much is everyone aware that security struggles to keep up with the speed of business? And if you are aware, and how do you become aware? Let me ask that. And if you are aware, what are steps you're taking to try to address that? And I know this is really the whole hour, but let's just start with one step you're taking. I'll start with you, Jesse, again.
Sure. So it's on me to identify the challenges that we're having and communicate that to, so I report to our CIO, and I have dotted line reporting to our board of directors, safety and security committee. And it's communicating our challenges to both my boss, the executive leadership team, and the board of directors, and making sure they understand, where we're having some shortfalls and gaps, and getting their buy-in on growing our team and getting the training and support that we need from the business, and getting the right processes in place to enable us to better support the business.
So, I mean, is it really just, our last thing was all about hacking process. I mean, I got to assume that process is kind of the core issue here. Tim?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we started off with the question about, talent shortages and sometimes stretching our people too thin. And, so I think at the middle of it is, we have to make our people more efficient. We have to give them the tools that they can use to do their jobs more efficiently. So I always recommend or solicit people to go look for that low hanging fruit. And I think the key, and this is my key word here, automation, right? Where can I automate, and where can I automate smartly? I can't tell you how many failed automation attempts that I've seen because we try to automate too broadly rather than focusing on those things that we can define what our success criteria looks like in the beginning and the end, the beginning, the middle, and the end, aligning the people, the process, and the technology in order to achieve those. So, yeah, automation, embracing automation is a big part. About
automation. So we've talked about automation a lot on our podcast, and one of the issues that actually came from I think a Ponemon Institute report was the number of companies that wanted to automate but felt they needed to staff up to be able to handle automation, which is literally the reverse of what automation promises. And honestly, I don't know of anyone who, I think you're addressing it the right way. Nobody reduces staff through automation, but they let them go to less mundane tasks like what you were saying. So Tim, I'm going to throw this back to you, and then I see, Jesse, you're nodding your head, but I want to throw it back to you. How do you address I need to staff up to handle automation issue?
Yeah, I want to agree with what you said there earlier too. It's automation is not. I'm not trying to reduce the people. I already don't have enough people, but I do need to. I need to make the people that I have more efficient and make sure not only more efficient, but I want to also increase consistency. I want to decrease the amount of errors that happen whenever we stretch people too thin, and also we need to unclutter. So we need to address those things that are getting in our way. And that's where I start talking a lot about complexity and unnecessary complexity and the things that kind of stuff the pipeline, kind of stop it up and get in our way when we're trying to achieve some of those efforts.
So, okay, then Jesse, let me throw it to you.
Yeah.
Have you done any automation? And B, give me just any one example of something you've automated that's just freed from the mundane tasks.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing I want to say is kind of like, let's face it, security is a complex business, and it's complex to understand from a technical nature, and it's complex to communicate to your business who doesn't understand the technical details. So I'm really a big fan of you making sure your people, process, and technologies are aligned, and you really have to have a good process before you can automate. Mm-hmm. So it's process that you're going to automate. It's not people that you're automating, right? Mm-hmm. And a good example of that would be setting up workflows in ServiceNow so that if it's ingesting a feed from your vulnerability management solution, it's automatically assigning tickets to the appropriate system owner so that they know they have something that they need to go patch.
That's a good that is a good process improvement that's automated. What about you, Tim? I mean, you work with a lot of companies where maybe you can mention like one or two low hanging fruits of like, oh, this is something simple we can automate. You can stop dealing with this.
Well, you definitely want to automate the right processes. A good point Jesse makes is you want to identify those processes that you want to automate. It doesn't do you any good to automate a broken process. So you need to get the process right first, right? Otherwise, you're just getting to failure faster. But yeah,
and probably more, by the way, more and faster,
more faster. Yeah. So get rid of that. Again, I go back to some of the bad things that I've seen is people still using emails or spreadsheets, to track changes. Mm-hmm. One of the first things, if ServiceNow is one of those things that we integrate with a lot, and being able to
sponsors,
being able to integrate with that effectively and efficiently is a great place to start. Get rid of those highly manual processes that will not scale and will not honor the speed of business going forward in the future. And
I mean, let me just ask. I just want to get some concrete examples. What are some of the manual processes you've seen that are the easiest to automate?
Get rid of the email. Do not
email. That's it.
Don't track your changes via email.
Okay,
don't track your changes via a spreadsheet.
Sorry, that was your answer. My apologies.
Yeah, okay. Don't get rid of those.
Now we got to save all of our emails because all of the CISO's approvals are archived in email. No, that's not a good thing to do.
Hey, that might be a good bad idea though. So we'll prime the pump for the audience there.
I did want to make a comment about what you said about emails and spreadsheets. Well, Excel has always been the second best tool for everything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
That's a good point. All right. Hey, Nathan asked a question here that digs literally just a layer deeper than what we were talking about a moment ago. Nathan Hall asked, when you automate, is there an expectation to understand the human process first? Now, you said you got to have a good process, but not you can't, fix a broken process. But Tim, let me ask, how much of the human process are you understanding at this moment? This gets into I guess user experience design for your security flow. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this gets back into what is it that what are the defining the goals at the beginning too? What is it that I want to achieve at the end of this? As I automate it, right? And is that for the person that I'm targeting or the job function that I'm targeting? What is the expectation of achieving the goal, for that automation? So, and that can directly affect the person. And it goes back to aligning the people with the technology, with the process as well, right? So you got to make sure that you have the right people to help you, people that truly understand what it is that you're automating and why. Because I've also seen automation efforts where you didn't have the right, wasn't that it wasn't a smart person, but that person wasn't necessarily well grounded in the thing that you were trying to automate, and therefore we got we didn't achieve the results that we were looking for.
Let me just check it. Oh, whoops! There was a question that disappeared, or was that under the answered? No, I guess it disappeared. All right. I'm going to jump into. Is there a way to visualize? So we're dealing with process controls, and there's also a lot of process has to do with policies also in place. Is there any way to get some kind of visualization on it? And when you do that, is there a way to sort of holistically understand your process setup where you could automate things easier? I'm going to start with you, Jesse, on this. I know, Tim, you definitely will have an answer on this. Mm-hmm. Jesse, go ahead.
Well, I mean, my answer is going to be different than Firemon's, but I think, it's about process, mapping out the process. And just the exercise of mapping that process out, like this is the activity that I'm doing as a security analyst, and I'm doing it over and over again, 6 hours a day, and mapping out those steps, and then having a discussion about that, you're going to see where there might be some inefficiencies, right. And then you're going to be able to understand whether or not it's a good use case for automation, and then it becomes, if it's a good use case because it's a good process to begin with. Then, what's the appropriate solution to implement that automation?
That makes perfect sense. Tim, how do you go about doing it?
So there is a vast amount of heterogeneity in the hybrid infrastructures that people are dealing with today. And so if I always start at the bottom with the people, whether they're in the remote office or in the data center or at headquarters, wherever they happen to be. Those people are trying to get access to data. That data is typically stored in the cloud, some type of cloud provisioning. And then all along that path, right, we usually start with, some type of connectivity tissue, SD-WAN. People are embracing SASE nowadays and zero trust models, and they get into the SASE, and then they get into the public cloud provisioning or back down to the data center. But all along that connectivity path, there are a lot of policies, right? So how do I make sense out of all those policies to ensure that the proper security controls are in place? And one of the things that we do, of course, is we homogenize that, or we normalize it, maybe is a better word, so that we can bring all of those policies into a single lens, and we can apply our analytics, and we can apply our behavioral analysis of those policies, and then we can start there because we have a common foundation that we can start on to try to apply some smart automation to it as well.
What visibility? I want to dig to literally your answer there. Just one more layer deeper is, and you can maybe give me anecdotal stories here. Is all right. I'm getting this sort of normalization. I'm seeing all my policies in one space. What is the sort of understanding that I have now that I couldn't have before I did something like that?
I'm going to give you a perfect example here, David. I think, and I think Jesse will appreciate this too. I was actually at a meeting one time with some folks, and we were looking at some of the analyzations of the policies, in that single lens, and they pointed to one of the dashboards and they said, what is this? There's a complexity tab. And they said, what is this complexity? What does this mean? And what it's really referring to is across all my policies, when I'm looking at all my policies across my estate or my hybrid estate, typically enforcement policies are meant to restrict access, not to allow greater access, restrict it to the needs of the business in order to achieve the task. And all of a sudden, these two rules popped up, and one of them had 4 million logical paths, and the other one had like 2 million logical paths. And we stopped the meeting right there to go fix that because they had two very overly permissive rules that had got buried, and they were troubleshooting. They were trying to troubleshoot an application, and they basically turned this rule wide open. They put an any in the service field, and it's allowing this unvetted access to these things. And then the thing was working, and they went back to, with the intent of going back to fix it later, now that they solved the business problem, and later didn't happen. And so these things get buried. So surfacing those things so that you can find them easily and readily across all of that sheer volume of policies across that hybrid infrastructure. And it's only widening further, right? And as that hybrid expanse widens, so too does the threat landscape. And so when you miss something like that, it opens you up for potential exploitation.
We are, by the way, any second now, we're going to be dropping the poll. And if you have not already, please click the link at the bottom to register for 2 weeks our video chat. Jesse, you're about to say something. Go ahead.
Yes. So I've kind of got a comment that I think kind of ties some of the stuff together with regards to people, process, and technology from a policy lens. So a lot of what Tim was just speaking about there are technical policies that are implemented via technical controls. So you got your people policies, which are your administrative controls, and this is what we need to do and why we need to do it. Then you've got your process that says these are the steps we need to do to actually follow the policy and comply with the policy. And then you've got the technology piece, which is here's how we implement the steps to comply with the policy with efficiency.
Excellent. All right. I just want to let you know that the poll has just dropped. We got 10 minutes to get your votes in, so get your vote in. I would like to say vote early and often, but the system does not let you vote more than once. So my apologies for that. So just vote once. Make sure all of you do it. I know a lot of them you are there. Bad idea, don't vote. That's correct. Good idea is to vote. All right. We have some questions here in all things. All right. This is interesting, Craig. Craig Herder asked this question. The needs of the business are calling for automation, and as are you, Tim. And by the way, when you can automate, it makes sense. All right. Again, from Craig Herder. The needs of business are calling for automation, but automation cannot be a panacea. At what point do we eliminate the human on the altar of efficiency? I mean, you can't really eliminate the human, as we were saying before. So, I think it's just really what we were saying before, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you just look for the moments that can be automated, and sometimes it's just very small things. Jesse, yes?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not trying to completely robotize the staff, are we, Tim?
No, Jesse said something earlier that was spot on. He talked about there's going to be a certain amount of complexity in any good security implementation. It's identifying that unnecessary complexity and attacking that. That's the stuff that creeps into the equation that introduces human error, so to speak.
What about and getting into we're talking about the speed of the business sort of running away, if you will. Is there elements of creating zones of control that even as the business is developing very quickly, there are things that we can still sort of wrap our arms around? Jesse, you're mentioning it. Can you give specifics here?
So I think, if you have kind of your standard, let's say your architectural and your business standards of these are the things that are acceptable, and create things like, approved processes or approved policies or approved, types of technologies that meet these types of requirements. Then you can, basically give them a, pass, go, collect $200 because they've met certain requirements, and kind of, create those checklists for them to go through. And if it meets all the requirements, then go for it.
By the way, I just took a look at some of the bad ideas. There is one, I'll just say 3/4 down the list, maybe, that I highly recommend everyone take a look at. It's a good one. All right. We are, just so you know, we're 7 minutes away from our playing the Department of Yes. And it'll be interesting to see if you can handle some of these bad ideas. Let's go to... let me go back to my list of questions here. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I go, I'm sorry. The zones of the control question. The good ideas. I'm sorry. Andrew was just reminding me. At 20 minutes past the hour, we want to hear your good ideas. So now that you've given us your bad ideas, which, by the way, you can still give us bad ideas, which you will be eligible to win the fleece if you were picked as the best bad idea. And I will tell you, good visuals, like the bad idea, if it creates a good visual, those are the ones that kind of win. But we want your good ideas. What are your suggestions on handling the speed of business? How is security do it? What are good strategies? Just put good idea or good strategy. We want to know what it is. I'm sorry. I'm going back to you, Tim, on the zones of control question here. What are the ways you create zones of control?
I can't help but mention this comment. Machines help humans be bigger problems. That's a good one there. Zones of control.
Thank you.
Zones of control, whenever I consider a zone of control can be big, it can be small, it can be, as discrete or as broad as you want it to be. People think about segmentation or micro-segmentation. Of course, zero trust comes into the play as well when you start thinking about it. But yeah, I'm a big I'm a big fan of creating those zones of control, deciding, number one, you got to decide what is it that I'm putting inside that control, right? And then who's going to have access to that zone of control? And then how am I going to enforce that zone of control, right? So I need to decide that. And, it could be a single VPC going to a transit gateway, or it could be a server or a cluster of servers on a dedicated VLAN hanging off a switch or a router somewhere. But regardless, I create those zones of control. But once I create those zones of control, I think everyone has, or should have, we're getting away from it. And that's a whole subject to another conversation, is this centralized security policy. You need to be able to technically enforce. And so once I create those zones of control, I need a way to ensure that I can maintain the trust that I'm trying to establish within that zone of control as well. So I want to be able to technically enforce those zones of control that I create.
I'm going to throw out that something Brian Colt just said of a good idea. And I'm going to say, I'm going to throw to you, Jesse, say this was 100% true. What could you then do if this were true? And Brian says, facilitate a culture which embraces security in all processes, business and technical. Do not let security be adversarial. So imagine, if you will, everyone in the business, not just your security team, is extremely security minded, like they are business minded, like they're focused on the bottom line. And security was at the same level of focusing on the bottom line. How would security change if that were a possibility? And could a lot of the things we're saying be either eliminated or not need as much work, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's a really great scenario and a great situation to be in.
I know it's more fantasy level right here, but let's just
fairy tale or fantasy land there. But okay, so if that was the case, I definitely think security would be, where most of us are already getting our seat at the table,
right?
But it changes the conversation to, how can we do this and keep you happy and, protect the company, to how can security actually help us earn more revenue and increase our market position rather than, just keep us safe and making sure that we're resilient. I think from there, it becomes a discussion of, security being a business growth driver. Rather than, we're already, talking about we're the enabler. Now we're a growth driver and a growth enabler.
It's like the brakes on the race car metaphor, in that, that's how a race car goes fast, is because it has the brakes, not just it can go 200 miles an hour. Tim, I mean, interesting your thought of, if just purely the mental capacity of the team was very security minded to the level that they are of, the growth of the business, how does it change the scenario? And the reason I ask this question is, if we can make this picture, then we know what to strive for. Yes?
Yes. Now, well, I think one of the biggest barriers to that is the lack of collaboration across the lines of business too, right? So as Jesse said, the business, it recognizes that security needs to be an enabler, but it has to be viewed as an enabler too. It's one thing to be an enabler. It's another thing to be viewed as an enabler. And that starts with the education. And that starts with, also making sure that you don't have these stovepipes or silos, as people probably more commonly like to say, that you're not operating within the silos. So the more collaboration you can get across your policies, across your departments, then I think the greater your success is going to be too. Enlist them in your success. Enlist them. Make sure that each person. I saw somebody say earlier. It says all the humans need to start in the mailroom. It was a funny comment, but really, understanding the jobs and responsibilities of your peers can go a long ways in helping to achieve some of the goals, especially for security.
And that shows a little level of sort of compassion and humility to your fellow coworker as well. I think that's excellent. And what I'm noticing, by the way, in all these sort of good ideas that are coming through, these are all topics that we've addressed on this video chat. Like Sanjay right here is talking about identifying the crown jewels of the organization. Let me throw this back to you, Tim, is when you are doing this holistic view of the policies, are the crown jewels identified in this? Because, obviously we can't protect everything at the same level because it'd be just too freaking costly.
So we do, one of the biggest issues that we see is and I'll say it again, we're getting away from a centralized security policy, and we see a lot of fragmentation of people taking ownership for the security controls for the things that are getting deployed into the cloud and things like that. And it's not aligning with that centralized security policy. So not everyone is singing from the same sheet of music, and we got to get back to that centralized sheet of central music so that I can not only centralize my security policy, but I want to be able to technically enforce it. And I mean, that starts with visibility. It starts with change, so that when a change happens, I'm able to interrogate that change to make sure that, my compliance posture, security posture, business continuity, nothing has been negatively impacted. And that starts with a good dynamic compliance profile. And when I say compliance, I don't mean for people to immediately jump to regulatory compliance initiatives and PCI and HIPAA and GDPR and things like that, but it's just best practice to make sure that I am doing what my security policy calls out. And then if there's a control failure, then we arbitrate. We go to remediate that as quickly as possible. And if somebody's trying to do something that they shouldn't, then we want to work with that business unit. We want to work with that department to understand what it is they're trying to achieve.
Excellent. All right. We have a call that just came in.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right, here we are, and I already know the two ones that I'm picking here because I love them. I will just say that these are two really good bad ideas. But remember, you play in the Department of Yes, and what that means is I do not want you answering facetiously. I want you to find the positive line here, the silver line, what makes this idea good, why you actually want to implement this bizarrely horrible idea. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start with you, Jesse. I'll have Tim. You'll start with the first on the start first on the next one. Jesse, you'll start first on this one, but you're both going to answer on both of them. Here we go. And, oh, by the way, whomever's bad idea this is, please pipe up because we're going to want you at 40 minutes past the hour to defend your bad idea. Here we go. Instead of keeping up with the business, let's slow the business down with intentional periodic outages to make it easier for security to be slow and efficient. But I would just say to be easier for security in general. I'm doing a slight modification. Jesse, why is this a good idea? Why do you want to do this?
Well, that's great because, if you can't keep up with the pace of business, change the pace of the business to the base of security. So if we can't beat them, make them come down to our level so that at the speed at which we operate.
Lowest common denominator.
Yes!
All right, Tim.
This is a great idea because now it's going to keep people from going around us, right? People tend to go around security whenever they hit that roadblock. So now if we can slow it down and we can honor their requests on a timely basis by giving us more time, then they're less likely to go around us. So
I like that. I like the whole idea of preventing, because security has been an obstacle to get around. No one on to defend that one. Hold it. That was Chase. Oh, Chase. All right, Chase, that was your bad idea. Excellent. Very good. All right. Now the next one that we have, get ready for this. Tim, I'm just going to say this is going to be a tough one for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're playing the Department of Yes. Implement cocaine stations at the company bathrooms and break rooms to keep the staff working more while tying them to the office for the fix. Speed the problem becomes the answer and the solution. Why is this a great idea?
Hey, so, you always say that when morale is high, that's when the people are most efficient. This sounds like a way to boost morale. It sounds like a good way to increase corporate culture and camaraderie between my people. So happy people work hard, happy people are efficient. So great idea.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I like that. All right. Cocaine stations. Tim is all for it. By the way, as I jokingly say, I'm going to just take that clip out with no context and post it publicly, Tim, to make you and your staff feel great about that. Jesse, same thing. Why do you want to implement cocaine stations?
So, quick disclaimer. I mean, we are a heavily regulated company, and I certainly don't endorse substance abuse. But that aside,
with that aside,
implementing cocaine
Tim's
stations,
company, they're all for substance abuse.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, unlike Fireman. But
By the way, they're going to take their sponsorship dollars away. Stop that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Firemon. Firemon is great. We love Firemon. They don't endorse any illegal substances. Go ahead.
Absolutely not.
Go ahead.
But cocaine stations would be great, at every Amtrak station, on board every train, in every office location, because we work our employees hard, right? And if we can keep them, perked up and working hard 18 hours a day, we're gonna drive productivity through the roof. So that's a great thing to have.
Bravo! Yes, I agree. I want to say both of you did very, very well in the Department of Youth, especially dealing with that last one, which wasn't easy. By the way, who was that last one? Was it Eli? Hold on. Someone had to come on for Chase. Oh, Chase had to leave, unfortunately, for that one. Cocaine Station. Who did Cocaine Station? I'm the coach. Station. Tom Wilcox. All right, Tom, you'll come on. Which, by the way, it looks like we lost Chase because he had to unfortunately drop off. So we'll figure it out at 40 minutes past the hour. So someone want to come in and defend Chase's bad idea. They can defend Chase's bad idea. That was the very first one about slowing everything down. All right, let's get back to our questions here. We have a question here. I haven't even read this, but I'm just going to read it live right now. Fred Grun. When we talk about policies, are we talking about technical restrictions, or are we talking about company-published documents for audit and compliance purposes? All right, I'm going to throw this one to you, Tim. I have the task of reviewing and updating our documented policies, and it's an annual task I loathe. Can you answer, Fred? Tim?
Yeah, the two kind of marry together at times, depending on what it is. There's some things I think, outside of, I focus on network security, and I focus on how I can help enforce technically how I can enforce network security across my hybrid estate. But wherever I can put in controls that can help me to do that in a technical capacity, then that's what I'm going to shoot for. As far as some of the other overarching security policy things, I'd probably have to defer that to someone else. But
all right, then I'll throw this to you. This is a task that Fred despises, about having to review these policies. Is this something that happens at your company?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody hates reviewing documents and in reading, mounds and mounds of paperwork and making, edits and adjusting it for, what you need today and what you need for the future. But I'd just say, are you trying to do it all at once? Or, do you, set time throughout the year, and this month I'm going to, review and update these policies. So that you're not trying to tackle it all at once. It just becomes a part of your normal battle rhythm that you're updating something all the time, and you're not feeling the burden of kind of doing it all at once as homework.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I guess the all at once and the homework, and like he said, you don't want a situation that you loathe, which would be what we call a lot of no fun. All right. Oh, in just a couple of minutes, we will bring on Tom and hopefully somebody else to defend Chase. I'm sorry we had to lose Chase. By the way, if you have not registered for the video chat, we're going to have in 2 weeks. Remember, no video chat next week because of the holiday weekend, but in 2 weeks. Oh, by the way, Jesse, if you type, make sure you mute yourself so we don't hear you typing. Click on the link on the bottom to register for in 2 weeks for our video chat. All right. Let's go back to how in tune, because it's kind of my first question, how in tune is the business on security? I'm going to start with you, Jesse, on this one. When they're implementing new stuff, and when they're implementing new stuff, are they doing a better job of bringing in security early and in the earliest discussions? Let me ask that.
So I'd say from my perspective, it's kind of hit or miss. There are certain things that come to security because it comes to IT, right? So there's certain channels and processes that are in place that notifies, let's say, our IT architecture team that, hey, business unit of HR is trying to buy this thing that procurement flagged as a technology item. If that happens, then security is in the loop because now we're in another process flow
Sure.
within the IT.
So it literally just becomes flags like, oh, there's some data flowing here. Get security involved.
However, yes, exactly. However, there are certain things and procurement activities and good idea fairy things that happen that the business doesn't even recognize that there might be a technology component or a security component. For example, a project manager that's going to build a bridge infrastructure is not necessarily thinking about the control system that for a movable bridge that would control the movement of the bridge so watercraft can pass through and then close again. And I found that challenge, here, where I work currently, of how do we get pulled into that process so that we're part of that conversation, so that we're leaning forward and we're protecting critical infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So you want that process broadened. All right. Oh, we have Tom Wilcox in here. Yes, we are 40 minutes past the hour. We're ready to defend it. I think you may be unopposed right now, Tom. Which,
well, what a spot to be in.
Yes.
I've been told that I intimidate people, so maybe that's what it was.
So this is Tom Wilcox, who came up with the absolutely spectacular bad idea of having the cocaine stations, which, first of all, I want to know, was there any kind of past experience where there was some cocaine usage and people were using it at some hotels as you are cleaning up your nose?
No, I confess I am drug free except for the occasional beer.
Okay. So do you have any history, not yourself primarily, but where you worked at an office where there was some cocaine usage so people could work more efficiently?
No, although, I've certainly seen where the benefits could possibly be gained.
Kick in. All right. So was there anything that inspired this? You were just thinking, how can I work faster? I know, cocaine.
Well, I'll just say this in honor of defense. We are in an unprecedented time in security where we have more and more threats hitting us daily. We have state-sponsored actors that get the resources of large governments to back them. We have unrivaled supply chain hacks. We have cloud companies hitting us left and right without security solutions, but solutions that we want to consume. So what we have to do, just like we did in previous wars, is pivot to innovation and new ideas to keep us on the defense and sharp-eyed. So to me, it's a pretty simple step. I think the precedent was set in World War II with methamphetamine. So now we're just saying a little cocaine in the office goes a long way.
Just could be a dab of cocaine.
That's right.
Well, he's not opposed right now, but let me ask you, in terms of bad ideas, Tim and Jesse, the other idea was slow everything down. In the playing a what's worse scenario, which is a worse scenario, slowing the business down and or cocaine stations? What do you think, Tim?
Well, first off, I think that would make for a great T-shirt, right?
What's worse, slowing the business down or cocaine station? Great idea.
If Fireman wants to license the shirt,
Brad is cheering for that.
Yeah, Fireman is cocaine for the IT security. Just let me know.
It's a great, I think as we get back into our security conferences and stuff, I'll have to bring that up to marketing. So as we're,
I'm sure that'll go over like a fart.
Yeah, I think right. Black Hat's coming up. So yeah,
there you go.
So I'm going to go with Tom's. I'm going to go with the best bad idea would be to put the cocaine stations in the hallways.
All right, and Jesse, where do you stand? Do you think slowing the business down or cocaine stations? What's worse?
Yeah, if we're putting this as a what's worse scenario. And I wish Mike was there so I could disagree with him. But I'll go
he may choose cocaine station. I don't know what he would choose.
For me, I'll go with the worst of the two bad ideas is the cocaine station, specifically for my line of business, because nobody would be allowed to work because we are a drug-free workplace. We even have hair follicle testing and stuff like that that goes on. Yeah, and you're not allowed to operate a train or work in anything where public safety is a concern if you have any sort of substance use.
Critical piece of infrastructure.
Whereas slowing down the pace of the business to meet the capabilities of security, that's something certainly we could do and probably get away with.
It's all about what you could get away with. But also, here's the big thing, and you bring up a good point, and Tom, again, excellent, bad idea, is the cocaine stations may bring an end to the business. You know, with all the legality, the exposure, loss of customers, I think it may just kind of bring an end to the business. Yes, we're slowing down. At least you're still in business.
It's a big may. It may also make everything better. So I just want to put that out there. There's always a chance.
And
There
Tom,
is a
Tom, what are you going to do when everybody's in rehab?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. So
I feel like there's an endless supply of customers.
here's my feeling. I think Tom's idea is a great idea if your business plan is to last for another 6 months and that's it. Then I think it's a spectacular idea. So I'm with you on that. Thank you very much, Tom. Please stick around for our meetup at the end. Everyone, please stick around because we've got only 15 minutes left in our video chat. And the good ideas keep coming in, so thank you very much. Sandor throws a good tip in here. Reward employees for reporting security issues. I'm going to throw this one to you, Tim. This is something we address with, like, email phishing and things like that. But in terms of hacking the speed of business, if there was a culture, and this goes back to my, this Nirvana thing about security, is there a culture, maybe even just at Firemon, because you are a security company, is there a culture of when I see a security issue, I report it? See it, say something.
I can speak directly for Firemon in that capacity. Absolutely. See something, say something. We say that, you hear that a lot. It's usually referring to things external to us or outside or whatever. But within the operation of the company, we're a big believer in, if we're seeing something that we can do better, if we're seeing something that we're doing wrong, if we're seeing something that, just doesn't look right, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. We have a Slack channel dedicated to that type of stuff. To talk about improvements and improving efficiency and corporate ideas and things like that. So yeah, we highly solicit our employees to speak up, and no one's going to get beat over the head. For no one ever has a bad idea or reports something that isn't taken in good seriousness.
And let me tag that to you, Jesse, in that there's always this fear of, oh, this may be nothing, but and how do you reassure someone, even if it is nothing? Like, I see something, it truly is nothing. You reassure me, thank you for telling me it wasn't anything, but you know what? I'm glad you chose to tell us, kind of a thing. Like, how do you reinforce that? So the next time I don't know if this is anything, but, kind of an attitude.
So I've got the perfect scenario that I was actually just talking about this morning with our board. How do we know that our training and education campaigns are working? How do we know that our users know how to recognize phishing emails and that they know how to report it? Well, the proof is in the reporting. We have a little button in Outlook that they can click and report the phishing email. It goes to the SOC. There's an automated email that goes back. It says, thank you for reporting this to the SOC. We're going to look into this right away and get back to you with what the results are. And then, so we have that.
So
that
you do report back saying, we looked at this?
Yes, and that happens every day. Not only are they reporting legitimate phishing emails that they're doing their part in protecting the company, and we're letting them know that thank you for doing your part. You just saved the company today. Based off of what you reported, we found 25 other users that had the same thing that our tools didn't catch, but we were able to clean it up thanks to your swift reporting. The other side of that is we also get a little bit of spam and unsolicited vendor emails forwarded over to us to take a look at.
Let me throw a question to you, Tim. We're talking about a lot about the speed of business, and my question is, what are the metrics you're moving in the right direction, or what are the metrics you're following, and what is the measurements you want to see that you're moving in the right direction? For twofold reason. Business improving is kind of easy to tell. Money going up, business improving. But how does security sort of show a sort of staying in line with that, and that our metrics are improving with that? Because also, if business opportunities are expanding, then it's hard to have a baseline of, this is where we were at last year, but this year we now have this division that we didn't have last year, kind of a thing. So what can be tracked to let us know that we are actually working towards sort of a better, improved, speedier business? Tim?
Well, well, first let's say, the reason that the business is accelerating is for the right reasons, right? They're adopting technology. They are embracing innovation. They are trying to be competitive. They're trying to increase customer satisfaction. It's for the right reasons. The problem is that we hit these speeds. Sometimes along the way, the compromises that we're making exposes our data, and that's a bad thing, right? That's a serious impact can be a serious impact to the business and to the consumers of the business as well. And so, one metric that I would look at is, how am I reducing misconfigurations? If I'm tracking my misconfiguration, if I'm tracking my impacts, if I'm tracking my failed change windows or the number of changes that I'm making and how many of those changes result in me having to go back and rework that change because it didn't work or it caused an impact. I don't want to use the term breach, but that's a big one, right? That's something that you don't want to see publicly anywhere. So, those are some of the key metrics I'm going to look for as far as seeing if, and again, it goes back to the business embracing security as an enabler. Also, they're going to bring those things, as Jesse said earlier. Sometimes the business owners don't recognize that there is a technology enforcement opportunity for something that they're deploying. And so I want to make sure that I have that line of education with the business so that they do understand what they're doing, should involve my department.
Jesse, same question to you, but how you've only been in Amtrak, about a year now or a little over?
So I've been here just over 2 years now.
Oh, 2 years. Okay.
I've been in the CISO seat for 15 months, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. The CISO seat for just over a year. So you at one point had to, speak with the business saying we need to know, if we're heading in the right direction, and that the CISO has to buy off on that sort of measurement. What was the thing that you both came to an agreement on? All right, this is what we're going to measure, look at. Is it one thing, two, multiple things, and how often do you look at it to let you know, hey, we're going in the right direction? And what do you do to right the ship, I guess?
Right. Well, honestly, I think it really starts with whatever your cybersecurity strategy is for the company, and having a good framework that you're working off of, like NIST cybersecurity framework. And having good control catalogs, such as CIS top 20 controls, and having the ability to measure and manage risk and to identify what additional controls may be required for specific systems like risk management framework, and having those conversations around industry standards and best practices helps change the conversation a little bit, and it puts it in a business language rather than technical language. So, now we're talking about, leaning forward with like the cybersecurity maturity model certification type stuff, where it's really focused around processes and different levels of processes. And it's focused on, I think it's 171, best practices. So, then you start asking the question of, does it align to this best practice? And if it doesn't, well, how do we change how we're going to do this to align to this best practice?
Mm-hmm. All right, good point. I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing the wrap up right now, and then I'm going to come back for last thoughts from both of you as we have just 7 minutes left in our discussion right now. So everyone, I want you to, if you have not yet done this, go ahead and click the link at the bottom of the screen to register for the next video chat, which will be in 2 weeks, Hacking DLP, an hour of critical thinking on how security can keep up with Excel. Oh, I'm sorry. Jesus, I never changed that. I just realized that. That's the description for today's. Forget it. DLP, Hacking DLP is data loss prevention. I forgot to change the bottom of the thing there. That's my fault. All right, but stick around for the meetup. Andrew, in just 1 minute, please change that at the very bottom of the screen to our meetup link. We'll change that in just a minute. And tell your friends to join us. This is a lot of fun. As you can see, I love this community. I see this discussions blow up. I can't read this all now, but I read a lot of it after the fact. So I greatly appreciate your engagement. And I hope you all appreciate it as well. I think you do, because that's what I see. And I want to thank your company, Tim Firemon, for sponsoring this. You guys have been great sponsors of the CISO series, and we greatly appreciate your support of what we do. Hey, do you want to sponsor a video chat? Guess what? I've got 2 coming up at the end of June that could be available. if you would like them. So let us know. Just email me at david@cisoseries.com, and we could do a video chat on a topic of your choice. All right. We have 6 minutes left right now. I will start with you, Tim. Last thoughts on this topic of hacking the speed of business. Please tell me. And also, if you have any specific offers or any specific pitch from Firemon, let's hear them.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on what Jesse was talking about there within the CIS and the NIST frameworks and things like that. Yeah, I was going to say that I just think it's an excellent point that he made there, and it's actually one of the things that's core on our platform, because we have something called a security index score, and what we're really trying to do is establish a baseline of how well we're doing. The score doesn't really mean nothing until you establish that baseline, right? And then I have a way to judge whether I'm kind of going up and down. But really what we're looking at is we're looking at the controls within the various assessments, and it could be NIST, it could be PCI, it could be HIPAA, it could be any of the number of different things that we have embedded on the platform that you can run as an assessment every time a change happens. But we look at past assessments versus failed assessments, or number of controls that pass versus number of controls that fail, and that ratio computes your security index score. So now you have a way to look at a number that's going to give you a relative indication of where I'm at on a day in, day out basis. And when I see that number reflecting wildly in one way or the other, I know I'm doing good. Or if it's going down drastically, then I know there's a problem going on. It's like, oh, what happened? And I need to jump into that with both feet. But I think, again, it all goes back to visibility, right? It's whether it's visibility and how well I'm doing from a compliance perspective, how well I'm doing in honoring the speed of business. How do I gain parity with the speed of business, right? And I think there's going to take, in order for us to get there, it's going to take a paradigm shift in the way that we look at it today versus how we're going to honor it in the new hybrid digital transformation era, right? And that means that we're going to have to make our people more efficient, and we're going to have to automate smartly and leverage automation to our advantage and make our people more efficient.
Very good. Any to connect with you and Firemon, how should they do that?
Yeah, they can just hit our site, at firemon.com or at info. You can send an email to info@firemon.com. Of course, my email is tim.woods@firemon.com. I'd love to hear from you. Talk to people, all day long, every week. And, if you think that we can help you solve one of your environmental problems, or just want to talk to us about what the possibilities are, we would love to engage with you. Doesn't take but a second. Actually happy to set up a walkthrough of our solution platform, and show you how, security, network security policy management can play into your infrastructure as well.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, Firemon. And by the way, just to remind everybody, that link at the bottom is, you can actually click on it now. It will not be taken out of this video chat, as we're just going to wrap up the last 2 minutes with you, Jesse. That will take you into our cybersecurity meetup. If you've ever been afraid, you don't want to do it, you're scared, whatever, don't be. This is a ludicrously friendly group. Very, very friendly. Look at Jesse. Look at Tim. They're not going to bite your head off. They may offer you some cocaine in their break room, but I didn't say that. Jesse, all right, you got 2 minutes. Give us something good to wrap up with.
All right. Well, first, thanks a lot, Tim, for the engaging conversation. What you were saying and driving the conversation was spot on. So much that let's chat soon, right? And I never say that to vendors. So
awesome.
That's high praise.
And David, knows that's high praise. But and thank you, David. This is I think the third thing that we've done together. So thank you for inviting me to this. I'm looking forward to more of your content in the future. It's always a pleasure to, and a significant value to me as a CISO to pay attention to what content you're producing. To kind of wrap up, the conversation on,
you got 1 minute.
The pace of business, and I need to pick up the pace. And I think it's, from a CISO perspective, it's all about the business relationships and communicating with the business. If you're in a CISO role and you're thinking about the technology or too focused on the technology, you're probably not spending enough time with the business and communicating them what the challenges are so that you can help better support them. In fact, if you just ask the question, how could I better support you? They will tell you. and that's greatly going to improve the relationships. Like they tell me they need me to do these more things, and I'm going to say I'm going to need more resources, which gets to my point now where we are hiring at Amtrak. Go to careers.amtrak.com and start looking for some positions and apply today.
Awesome. And I know people are looking for jobs. Thank you very much, Jesse Whaley, CISO over at Amtrak. And Tim Woods, you're VP of Strategic Alliances, correct? Do I have that right?
Technology Alliances. You got it.
Technology Alliances. Thank you very much. With Fireman. Thank you very much, audience. Click the link at the bottom. Join us in the meetup. It's a lot of fun. 30 minutes, 5 random meetings with 5 random cybersecurity professionals. You may get to meet one of us, which will be a lot of fun because we want to meet you. Anyways, join us over there. Click the link. Join us over there. Just give me a few seconds. I got to change some lights. I'll see you there. Andrew,